Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to do a standard tune for a drag car. I'm going to talk you through the settings. So if we go and have a look, we'll just do upgrades and tuning first. I'm using a 1988 Chevrolet Monte Carlo Super Sport. First thing you want to do is you want to go into custom upgrade. Get your car, go into custom upgrade. I've already done it. First thing we'll do is go into conversion. So you want to do an engine swap. That's what I generally do as my first thing. So we're going to use the 7.2 litre V8. But what you want to do is you want to make sure you have the most amount of torque and the most amount of power possible, and you want to have a nice smooth line for that torque line. See the red line, pink line, red pink line on the graph. It's red or pink, isn't it? See that line? It wants to be as long as possible. See, it revs up to like nearly 10,000 RPM. That's what we want. So we're going to use that one. I'm going to stick a twin turbo on it, and then drivetrain swap. We're just going to use a rear wheel drive tune on this car. If you're using all wheel drive, you can use that if you want to use a different car. But generally, I just use rear wheel drive because that's what I like. Then we're going to go into the engine, and we're just going to put everything on the engine onto race. So everything in here is on race, apart from that, which is race twin turbo. And then this one, which I've left completely off, no intercooler. If we put an intercooler on, so we switch to that, we can see, put the intercooler on, takes the weight up. So we don't want that. It adds nearly 80 pounds onto the weight. We want to keep the car as light as possible, so leave that off, don't need to do that. Race flywheel, that's great. Then we're going to go into performance or platform and handling. I'm going to say performance and handling then, but it's not, is it? It's platform and handling. There's it right there, platform and handling in the yellow bar. The brakes, we're going to put race brakes on, and then suspension, we're going to use off-road suspension to raise the car up. Then we're going to put race front anti-roll bar on, and then same with the back, race anti-roll bar. Then chassis reinforcement, so I've got nothing on there because if you put it on, see the weight goes up again. We want to keep the weight as low as possible to make it light, make it fast. So we'll leave that off. Then we're going to put weight reduction on. So we're going to use that because we want to make it lighter. If we go back 3,200 pounds there, put it down, it's now 2,600. So that's what we want. Then we're going to go into drivetrain. So in drivetrain, we're going to use race clutch. Then we're going to use race transmission. I mean, you could use in the transmission, you've got 7-speed, 8-speed, 9-speed, 10-speed. But I'm just going to use the race transition at the moment because that's the one I've been using. Race drive line, and then in the differential we're going to use the race diff. Next we're in the tyres. So for the tyres you want to use the drag tyre compound. That's definitely the one you want to use. So front tyre width, you want to keep them as small as possible. That's what I do, just the standard ones. Rear tyre width, you want them as wide as possible to give it the most amount of grip. Then on the wheels, you're going to want as light wheels as possible, so you can have normal wheels, but I've chose these ones which are minus 33 pounds. I just chucked them on because they were the lightest ones I could find really quickly. The wheel size, just leave it exactly the same. Spacers on the front, you can just leave them as standard, don't need to put anything on there. On the rear, you can put them on to make the car wider at the back, give it a better stance, make it look a bit more animalistic. That's what we want to do. After that, we're going to go into aero and performance. You don't have to put anything on here. I've just put the bonnet scoop on to make it look more mean. Right, in the conversion we've done that, so that's basically the upgrade of the car. Then we're going to go into the tuning. This is the bit you want to know, isn't it? That bit was easy. This is harder. So tire pressure, you want it as low as possible on the front and the rear. Definitely on the rear you want as low as possible. On the front you can higher it up if you want a little bit, but I just run both at 15 and 15. The reason why you do that is because the less psi in the tire, the more contact area of the tire on the floor, giving you more grip. So gearing, I take the gearing final drive down to 2.85, so you can start it up. It starts up around what, about there. That's where it starts up. You look at the graph in the corner, look, the first gear is tiny, so we don't want that. We want to shift it all the way back down to 2.85. That's where I was on it, 2.85. That's what we do. Then you can shift first gear up a little bit to make it longer, and then second gear you want to shift it up. What you want to do is you want to make the quarter mile on the drag strip. You want to be using 4 gears. So you want to start in first, and by the time you get to the end you want to be in 4th but not changing into 5th. You want to get rid of that 5th gear, not be using it on the drag strip, so just use 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. If you find that the car is changing into 5th when you're on the drag strip and you're just getting towards the end of it, then you need to lower your final drive or lower your gear ratios like this to push them out a little bit. You can see that pushing them out. That's what you want to do to push them out further. So alignment, so the rear, you want nothing in it. Front, nothing, and nothing for the toe. Front caster is just 7. And then we have a positive camber on the front to make less of the tyre on the ground. That's what we want to do. Always use positive. I use about 0.8. That's perfectly fine. Anti-roll bars, we want them stiff in front and rear, because we're not going around corners. We don't need to have body roll or anything like that. We're just going to be stiff and stiff, going straight down a drag strip. Try and get it to go straight as possible. Springs, you want the front as soft as possible and the rear as stiff as possible, and then ride height jacket all the way up. Dampening, same as the springs. You want it soft at the front and then stiff at the rear. And then bump stiffness, you want it stiff because you want it to be really stiff as it's driving down. You don't want to go over a bump and then just be all wavy about and that. You don't want that. So aero, nothing in there at all. Brake, nothing in there. You don't have to change that. Differential, you want it to be 100 and 100.